Awesome. There we go. How's it going, everybody? We have all kinds of stuff to do today. I'm going to give it a couple minutes here, just kind of warm up, wait for folks to join and see what's going on. Hey, Michael, happy Friday. Hi, Lynn, welcome back. Thanks for joining. Thanks for, you guys coming in every day this week. I'm humbled. I don't know what to say. I'm going to do this anyway. I didn't expect anybody to show up. So I'm having a good time. I'm struggling. I will tell you though, yesterday it taxed the old brain yesterday, and I'm not going to lie. I don't like every day this week. I kind of knew, I had a plan in my head. I kind of knew how things were going to go. And I have to honestly say, I have no idea how to fix some things. And so today's going to be a lot of exploration, I think. So it is ambitious, no kidding. Well, there's some things that have me concerned. And I'll get into that when we get going. But one of the concerns is the differences. One of the things let me rewind. In my mind, my theory is one of the restrictions I've put on this project is no JavaScript. Because if we use JavaScript, we could have knocked this out by now. But the idea of this is how far can you push Storyline to do some things? So we're not using anything that you couldn't, we're not using any features inside Storyline that you couldn't build in either of the versions, whether it be Storyline 1, Storyline 2, or Storyline 3. I might have to backpedal on that statement. And that's where my concern is at. And I got to thinking about it last night. I'll explain it when we get into it. So let me flip over here real quick. I was going to make sure because yesterday I was having a problem with my feed. I only see 3 comments. So if somebody just says something, comment. I want to make sure the feed is coming through. Because yesterday I didn't see anything. There's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. See, if anybody's writing right now, I can't see it. It's not coming through. There she is. Okay, Stephanie. All right, now it's working. Okay. I don't know what I did yesterday. I really don't. I'm going to flip cameras because we're going to kind of review and kind of think real quick, and then we'll jump into Storyline. Happy Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. Okay, let me swing this around here a little bit. And I don't know why, but I don't know why I haven't been using this little guy all week. It's a lot. It's so much easier. So really quick, I just want to just kind of really quick, because we did this Monday, and I've been saying it every day. That's our formula. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Hey, Andrea, how are you? Hey, there's Clark. What's going on, Clark? How are you? So the formula that we're doing is 2 to the nth minus 1, meaning our rings in our game. Here's our little wooden prototype. So the number of rings that's the minimum number of moves. So n is number of rings, which means if we have 3 rings would be 2 to the third. Yeah, wait a minute. 3 rings. I want to do 2 rings first. So 2 rings. So that would be 2 to the second minus 1 equals 3. So that would be 2 rings. And that's our minimum viable functionality, what I call our MVF. If we can get those 2 rings working in this prototype, then the rest should be just a duplication of busy work out of that. So in that, here's the wooden prototype for those of you that haven't been around. So this is our little wooden game, Tower of Hanoi. And the object of the game is to move this stack of rings to one of these other pegs. And it could be the middle peg or the end peg, with this being sort of a spare peg, depending on how you're playing. And so 5 rings, the minimum number of moves to win this game with 5 rings is 31 moves. If we take 1 ring out, or 2 rings, or 3 rings, and we come all, whoops, we need that. So if our minimum gameplay with 2 rings, 2 to the nth minus 1 is 3. 1, 2, 3. We win. But there's so many things that we have to consider when we're building in storyline, because these are drag items, and every one of these positions, so think of 5 or 2 positions here, 2 sort of drop targets in this run, and 2 drop targets here. Well, I've got to evaluate, not only can I go here, but I have to also, once I put that drag item here, I have to evaluate that position is now occupied. Meaning I can't come in here and put another one in that same position, because typically the way drag and drop works, if you do that, then this one would snap back to its starting position. Well, I want to eliminate, I don't want that behavior. What I want to do is tell storyline that this position is no longer available, which means then I have to evaluate whether this position is accessible or not occupied. But at the same time, this second position here, I got to make sure this ring doesn't stop right here either. So I got to let it go all the way down, and then I've got to move these, what's available. So right now, this first move, the only thing that's available is the drop target at the bottom of this tower and the drop target on the bottom of this tower. So there's only 2 possible places for this ring to go, here or here. And then once I do that, what are the 2 possible places for this ring to go? Well, stay where it's at, or over here. However, the restriction of the game is you can't put a higher ring on top of a lower ring. So I can put it there, but I have to say, uh-oh, that's a wrong move. You can't do that. And then maybe push it back. Or let it stay here and then end the game. Sorry, you broke the rules or something. A lot of it has to do with what storyline will allow us to do in its current state, in its current version. And that's where we're at. And we got through a whole lot of design work this week and made a lot of progress. We figured out a lot of things, and we uncovered some things, and some of those things revealed to us. And then we got into storyline, and we started building yesterday, and even more stuff came up. More things came up and surprised us, so to speak. So that's where we're at. Now let's see. Where are we at? I think we just dive right into storyline. What do you think? You ready to do that? I'm producing, so I have to readjust the screen. And I always do that. Hang on. I'm messing with 2. There we go. Multiple cameras and screens and all kinds of things here. I'm wondering if, okay, I'm going to switch this over. There we go. That's good. I'm wondering if this view, though, I didn't even ask you guys yesterday. Hey, Tim, how are you? Great to see you, buddy. I'm wondering if my camera view down in the lower, that's hiding the layers. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, and if I move it to the lower right, or lower left, that hides the timeline. I think I can move it to the upper, I'm going to move it to the upper left. There we go. That's less important. How about that? Let me see. Wait a minute. This is, if you come in here, oh, this guy's an amateur. Yeah, you're darn right. I've been doing this for, what, 4 days? That's it? I just started. I have no idea what I'm doing. Unscripted. It's live. This is what it's all. This is what I do in my studio. I'll fiddle around for hours getting, I like that look right there. That's out of the way. Okay. Good stuff. Good stuff. There we go. Yeah, that's my favorite right there. We're gonna go right there. Okay, now this is what we built yesterday, and just to give you an idea, I'm gonna zoom in here. What's going on? I've got some listeners, what I call listeners, and it's just the on-screen reference of the current variables, and so I have 15 variables to identify or to evaluate current occupied positions. They're true-false variables, which means when there's a drag item like this is our ring. When there's a drag item sitting on a drop target, that's considered an occupied position, and I want that variable to tell me that's true. Otherwise, it's false. And the drop targets you can see in this design is showing all 15 possible places. Now, this is when we do 5, because the ultimate goal is to get all 5 rings working in this game. We're a long way from there yet. We got to get these 2 working first. If we can get these 2 to behave right, and there's a couple of things that, and I'm going to do a preview here real quick. A couple of things that surprised us or surprised me yesterday was the way Storyline's behaving. This is not a freeform interaction that I converted to freeform. This is just using triggers to get the same behavior. Now, if you look up at the reference, you'll see position A4 and A5 is in a true value, and that's telling me that there are rings occupying those 2 drop targets, drop A4 and drop A5. So this is my listener. Now, when I move ring 1, now remember when we did that little prototype a minute ago, I have 2 possible places to go, either tower B or tower C. Now, tower B, a couple things have to happen. One, the drop target at A4 has to stay normal, the drop target itself, and because I should be able to move back like that. That is a potential move. So we have to accommodate every possible move. And this is the hard, sometimes is the logic of figuring out gameplay, is we're trying to look at it from our own sort of narrow, siloed perspective of what we think the success path would be in the gameplay. A lot of times it's really hard to think of that. I always think of a 6-year-old child in a new car rolling the windows up and down and pushing all the buttons and turning the radio on and off. They're just curious. They're going to push every button and they're going to do as much as they can. So sometimes it's hard to go into that perspective. So I have to think of that. So the first move there, or what happens if I put it over here? And then again, the next move. So the next move would be the second ring, and where could the second ring go? Well, the second ring can go one of 2 places, but the challenge is I have to leave drop A4 active because now I'm dealing with 2 rings, so the second ring I could take that and move it back. The problem, or the challenge is, if the second ring were to drop on this first sort of stack, that drop A4. I'm not worried about that in Storyline. Why? Because it's kind of under the hood, and it's just an assumption on my part. I can't really verify it. But this is a starting drop target. This was a starting position for one of the drop targets, and this is a starting position for one of the drop targets, which means if you drop it anywhere, it's always going to snap back to its starting position unless you drop it on a target. So I'm not worried about A4. And here's the other thing is, one of the things about Storyline, now notice I've got the drop C4 drop target hidden because you can't drop a higher ring on top of a lower ring. However, one of these, I think, no, it wasn't that one. So let's put this over here. There we go. See what happened right there? If I put this over here, it's starting to break now because I can't get here now because I'm moving it. I'm trying to break it, and this is the time you try to break. You don't want to put 400 triggers in your project with your, you get into the busy duplication of effort, busy work of developing and adding triggers, and then you get to this first sort of one person says, well, what happens? And now it broke. This is the time you try to break it, because this is where you can fix it. So let me make sure the feed's still on here. Yep, okay. All right, now let's think about this. I'm going to refresh this here. I got to close it out. For some reason, refreshing is not setting my variables back. There's a couple other things that we have to look at too from that gameplay. Notice those variables are true, so I'm going to move this one to tower B. So now position A5 is true and position B5 is true, meaning I've got two rings occupying those two spaces. Now when I come over here, position B5 changes to false. So something in my trigger panel that I put in there yesterday is causing this to turn to false, which is incorrect because there is in fact a drop target in that position. So that should remain true. I'm not using these variables yet. I need them later. I'll use those as a condition later, but I don't need these variables for the actual gameplay. I'm just using drop target or change the state of and drop triggers, object dropped on triggers. So I don't need the variables right now, but I'll need them later. So that's why I need to see that they're working correctly now too. So we've got a couple things that we need to fix. One is we need to fix that. Another thing we need to fix is this is correct, and this is correct. And now if I put this on C4, this should be win. This should be a win right here. But it's not working. So that's one thing that we ran out of time yesterday. And then there's one other thing, if I remember. Let's go the other way. Let's put this one way over here on tower C. So that gives me the ability to put something on C4, but C4 is going to snap back, which is good. I wanted to do that. That should be the way it is, because you can't put a higher ring on a lower ring. That by default works. That's fine. And then I go to B5, and my variables are correct. Then if I go to tower B, so that's true, B5, but now C5 is false, which shouldn't be, because we still have an object here. And then this would be a win, drop on B4, but that's broke. So it's almost there. I was so close yesterday. We just got a few things we got to tighten up. So let's take a look at what's going on in the triggers, and maybe we can figure it out. Troubleshooting. You know what? Actually, one thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make a copy of this slide because I want to use that as a compare and contrast. So let's call this version 2 right here. And the other thing I want to do is I want to get rid of these drop targets that we're not using. It's just kind of visual noise right now. So the less visual noise, maybe that'll help. There. That's what we're trying to achieve right here. Oh, hey, Kelly. Welcome back. Let's see. Where are we at? Now, drag ring 1. So we've got this trigger is change the state of C4 to normal. So it's currently hidden. Change it to C4 when drag ring 1 is dropped on C5. Okay. Makes sense. And the theory here is, and again, it's an assumption, is that if you have and that's why it's kind of that gray look, that's because it's the initial state of hidden right now. You can't see them. And the assumption is that if you have a object in a hidden state initially, Storyline doesn't recognize it. So it can't do anything with something it can't see. So I don't want Storyline to see a drop target until I'm ready for it. So if I just want to look and study that one trigger, and then eventually all of these will be transparent, not hidden, or they would be transparent. So you can set an object to transparent and still hide it normal and hide too. You can still do that. So right now C4, drop C4 is hidden, and it turns to normal when I drop it on C5, which then gives me a new drop target to land on. So that's why the colors of these drop targets are in place right now, because I need to visually see the program working. I'm listening to my own program visually with these different turning things on and off. Especially when you're building complex things like this, it really helps to. It doesn't matter what the end thing looks like, because we're not adding the pretty stuff yet. We're not adding all the graphics and background. We just need to get this thing working. One of the things, though, I think this. I'm gonna try to drop it right here where drop C4 is located, and it doesn't work, and that's good. So I know that one trigger I don't have to worry about. So check that trigger off. That works. State of B4. So this is B4. Change it to normal if ring 1. So this is the other possible move if drops on B5. So this is how we troubleshoot, one trigger at a time, and find out what's working and what's not working. One trigger at a time. Okay, so this trigger is, if I drop it on B5, then B4 should turn to normal, and it does. Okay, now I'm going to try to drop it on, and I'm going to try to drop it on the hidden state of B4 and see if it sticks or not. I don't think it will, because it's that starting position. And we're going to go right here, and we're going to see if it sticks. No. So those two triggers work. Good. Check those off. Next trigger. State of B4. Now we're going to turn it to hidden. Ah. We turn it to normal. Why would we turn it to hidden? Well, if drag ring 1 is dropped on A4, back where it started from, so if I take it and drop it back where it started from, then I need to open up B5 again. Or if I drop it on C5, then I got to make sure B4 is hidden. And we already, that works. We already tested that. We know that works. And that's sort of the duplication of that same trigger, but accommodating tower C. So again, change drop C4 to hidden if ring 1 is dropped on A4 or B4 this time, or B5, excuse me. So that accommodates 2 possible more moves. So those are 4 possible moves so far. Now here's where we set our variables. And I think our variables, I was doing, see the or B5 or C5? I think I need to split those out. Set position A4 if dropped on B5, and then another trigger, set position A4 to false if dropped on C5. So only one at a time instead of the or, because that's why I think, I'm pretty sure that's why it's happening. So if I take ring 1, let's say put it on C5, so we've got position A5 is true, position C5 is true, and then watch the C5 value. See how that turned to false? That should stay to true. And that's because I've got that trigger saying change the value of a variable if it drops on either or. So we gotta fix that. And I think the trick here is adjust A4 to false when dropped on either B5 or C5. We're going to do one at a time. So I'm going to turn off C5, and then I'm going to make a duplicate of that trigger. And another thing with Storyline, every time you add it, it always drops into the bottom. And there's no current way to organize triggers, like group them or put them in folders or anything like that. So what I have to do is I kind of line them up and adjust them the best I can so I can see them. And then we need to change this one from B5 to C5, I think. So there we split that trigger into 2 separate triggers. And we need to do that for, looks like, all of these right here. So let me do that. Let me see if that makes a difference. So set position B5 to false if A4 or C5. Okay. So position B5, if ring 1 is dropped on B5, or excuse me, wait a minute, is dropped on A4. Oh, I catch my brain up. So any potential position, so right now ring 1 has 3 potential positions it could be. Its current position, B5 or C5. So I need that variable to be in true only if it's in 1's position. So if it's in position A4, then I need to turn off the other 2 potential positions in terms of position B5. So if ring 1 is here, then A4 should be false and C5 should be false. No, wait. If ring 1 is in this, if ring 1 is in B5 position, then A4 should be false and C5 should be false. And that's exactly what this trigger says, but I need only one. So we're going to turn this one off and then duplicate that trigger. And right here. A4, this would be C4, this one. This now changes to C5. Alrighty, are you with, this is like drone out sort of, oh my gosh, I'm falling asleep. I can't keep up. Okay, and then one more, we're going to split this one out. and C5, A4, or B5. So we'll get rid of, we'll keep A4 here and get rid of B5 here. And then copy, paste. There's a lot to evaluate. And the other thing with Storyline now is that in its current version, the current way triggers are, we can't do like an if then else. So every trigger does one thing at a time. And, you know, it can do some conditioning and different things. So it's okay to have a lot of triggers to evaluate everything that we need to evaluate. The challenge is organizing the triggers. How do you organize them and keep up with them and manage them? That tends to be a little bit more challenging. So set position C5 to false. If B5 or A4, there's A4, so this is B5. And there we go. Okay, what else do we have down here? Let's see, we're still on ring 1. Set position C5 to false. B5, we did that one. Set A5 to, here's our true. So that's easy, right? Set A5 to true if it's on A4, excuse me. Set position A4 to true if ring 1 is on A4. Set B5 to true if the ring is on B5, and set C5 to true if the ring is on C5. You save that. Whew. Yeah, Michael. And we're not even there. I think we got to do a few more change state of triggers yet too. We got a few more to do. So let's just make sure our variables are firing. So if I put ring 1 on B5, so we have true, true. If I put ring 2, oh, you know what? We're not down doing triggers on ring 2 yet. That's why this is turning false. So we still have to adjust the triggers down on ring 2. As long as yeah, see, and that popped back over and it didn't flip back to true. So why didn't it? I know there's a trigger there. Oh, because we didn't drop it there. Let's see if I drop it here. That should be true. Position A5, A4. Oh, yeah, A4. No, that's true. It's right. It's correct. It's just that it shouldn't go there because there's nothing underneath it. That's going to be hard to fix. We got to figure out how to hide that. Oh, I know. When we're over here, that's one thing. Once we move ring 2, we need to hide this one. Yeah, okay. It's a lot to keep up with, isn't it? Okay. Let me regroup. There's just a lot going on right there. Let me just make sure ring 1 works, and then we can go to ring 2. Ring 1. Position A5 is true. Position B5 is true. And the other potential places now, this should be normal. It's not because I can put ring 1 here. It's just that we got to accommodate the next move. This is the hard part of that first, what I was saying yesterday, this first move is critical because the pattern that we're trying to put together here is going to just exponentially increase the more rings we add. So I've got to now accommodate not only where ring 1 is, but also where can ring 2 go, because that's the next move, or whatever ring is on top. Whatever ring would be on top over here, I have to accommodate that. And then once we get into the other 5 rings, then we're going to have to do this on all 3 towers, and which position can, So whatever ring is here, what are the two positions it could go to? What ring's on top over here? What two positions can it go to? So we've got to evaluate all of that for every move for 5 rings. And the minimum number of moves is 31. So you just imagine it's going to be insane. And I don't even know if this design is going to work. I mean, we might have to scrap this whole thing and start over. I'm not there yet. I'm not giving up yet. But that's part of it, right? So we just figure out. So now we know that that's true. Let me go over here, drag this one over here. And now that's true because that's true and that's true. Now that gives me ring 2 now has the ability. So if I bring, I can, this is a potential move. So A4 should go back to false and C5, no, A4 should go back to true and C5 and C4 should go back to, C5 should go back to false. There, yeah, see, perfect. All right, so that works, that works, that works. Now, all right, all right, ring 1 works up to this point. Now ring 2, if I'm just going to do 1. So A5, drop on B5. There, that's the problem right there. You see that? So if ring 2 is dropped on B5, let's see where that's more of a variable. Change C5 to, oh, there's that. Or, yep, see, I've got all these ors in here. I got to do the same thing with these. Let's just do that. I know that's part of it. So A5, I just need to take one out and leave the other. Take C5 out of this one. Copy, paste. Set A5 to fall, and this is C5. And there we go. So we've got those split out. I'm going to push this up. It's just an alphanumeric sequencing visually for me. So if I put the 2 A variables there first, then this is going to be 2 B variables. Copy, paste. This one's A5, turn that one off. Turn C5 back on. So B5 to false if dropped on A5, B5 to false if dropped on C5. Okay, and then finally, set A5 to false, dropped on C5. I already got that one, don't I? Oh. B5, A5. Wait a minute. Something's not right. Oh, the true. I moved the wrong one. That's the true variable. That comes down here. This one. See, that's what it's really hard to manage these things. A lot of times. There we go. I really, really wish we can get a way to manage these triggers better. A5, A5, B5, C5, B5, A5, C5, C5, A5, or B5. Okay, so we're going to turn off B5 here. And then make a copy. And A5, this is B5. Okay. And then finally, true, true, true. Okay. Yes. Take a breath. Take a breath. Okay. Now, what I think I'm going to do, because it's starting to get boring. I can only imagine you watching me think through out loud. The design stuff earlier in the week was kind of fun because we were just kind of figuring things out. So you tell me if this is, because I'm thinking about just kind of diving, see if I can get some things working over the weekend. I'm going to take a break on the live stuff over the weekend, come back Monday. But I may tinker with some things if we can't get to a good, I want to get a good working prototype today. I really think we can do it. Let's just check. Let's check it out. And let's see what we need to consider and not consider. Ring 1, we know that's good because we already tested it. We need ring 2. Ring 2, can ring 2 go here? No. Good. Can ring 2 go here? Yes. True. And B5 is still false. Why is B5 false? I thought we fixed that. And the reason I'm closing and refreshing, when I tried to refresh, for some reason, it's not refreshing enough to reset those variables in the refresh. So let's do that again. 1, true and true. No, true and true. A5 and B5 is true. That's correct. When ring 2 is dropped on C5, set C5 to true. Correct, but it's also changing B5 to false. So set B5 to false. Set B5 to false if ring 2 is dropped on, we need a condition. This is where, on the condition that position B5 is not equal. Is it not equal to? No, because it is true. So if it's true, if it's not equal to, I want to change it if it's not equal to true. Yeah. So the way Storyline does the conditions in a trigger, it actually reads the condition first, and then it evaluates if that statement is true or false, or correct or incorrect. So what we're trying to do here is this trigger is going to say, is position 5 not equal to true, meaning false? If so, then change position B5 to false. So we're evaluating the variable itself. We're trying to figure out if it's one way or another. I'm not sure if that's the correct trigger or not, but let's see if that helps. Oh, hey, Jeff. Say hi, everybody. Jeff's an old high school buddy of mine. So let's see. We're going to go over here to drop B5. Now, this is where we just try to figure if this. What we're doing is we're evaluating, is B5 true? If it's not equal to true, then change it to false. There, see how that worked? So it stayed true. So that's how that condition works. We're evaluating a variable of itself to see what value it's in based on where ring 1 is. And that's what that's the pattern that we're going to need to figure out as we go 5 rings. We have to figure all of that out. On those, that's where the conditions, that's where these variables start coming in handy on the condition side. I don't need them for anything else, but I need to evaluate positioning by doing that. And then ring 1, if ring 1 is dropped on C4, change C4 to true. So we got to do that. Change positions C4 to true. I'm just going to come down here. Ring 1. Oh, ring 1. Here we go. See, I've got A4, B5, and C5. I need a C4. So set position C4 to true if ring 1 is dropped on C4. Let's give that a try. Hey, there's Dawn. Hi, Dawn. My brain is already hurting. Okay, we're going to go here, drop on B5, then then ring 2 over here. Now, when I drop this, we got our trues. When I drop ring 1 to C4, B5 should go to false. And it's not yet because I don't have a trigger for a C4 drop, but then C4 should go to true. There we go. And that's actually a win, right? That's our minimum. That's it. It's a win. But it's not quite there yet because look, we still have B5 true. So we got to turn that off. So we're almost there. Almost there. So we need to set B5 to false. So it's this trigger, but drop C4. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that trigger and come up to and put it right in the same spot, and then change the false to if ring 1 is dropped on C4, and there. Can I go back? You're funny. You're funny. Silly, silly Dawn. I'll have the recording up later. You can go watch it if you want. No, we're not going back. Please don't make me do that. Okay. Watch this. It's going to work. This is it. Set your clock. Ta-da! We're not quite there. Why? Because we're a bunch of things. We got to evaluate the other potential. What if they go on tower B? So let's evaluate if we can get a win. We got a win on tower C. And let's do a win on tower. Michael, I'm using OBS, Open Broadcast Project software. And it does, well, Facebook is recording, obviously. And then when I get done, it's already there. And then I can download from Facebook. I'm learning so much. I started a blog post, lessons learned about live streaming, because I've never done this until 11 o'clock Monday morning. So I've learned a lot in just, this week. So I'm going to do a write-up, I think, lessons learned, things, just what I've learned, my experience, which I think is going to be fun. But Facebook only downloads an SD or a low-resolution version of the recording. The OBS, or the Open Broadcast software, and it's free, it's open source, it's also recording at, I did not start the recording. I just looked. I didn't start the recording. Well, it's a good thing Facebook is recording. I can't believe I didn't do that. Oh, man. Now I'm bummed. Okay, I guess, Dawn, we have to start over. Yeah. Well, crumb nuggets. Okay, anyway. And then I take it up and I put it up on YouTube, and YouTube does a really nice job too. And then I put that embed that over on my website. So I suppose I could start recording now. Nah, we're already almost an hour in. I'll just grab it from Facebook later. Wow. I need a checklist. That's lesson learned. I need a checklist of all the things I need to do. All right, so 2, let's get back to this here. We've got true and true. Now ring 2 to B5. B5 is true, but now here we go. C5 is false. That's not correct. So set B5 to true if ring is, that's right. Set C5, oh, that's our condition, just like we did before. So when it says change C5 to false, remember that condition we did on the other one? So we come down here to ring 2, set position C5 to false when ring 2 is dropped on B5 on the condition that C5 is not equal to false, not equal to true. C5 is not equal to true. Is that the same one we did up here? Isn't that the same one? Hang on, let me just verify real quick. Where's it at? Where do we put it at? Oh no, it was down here in ring 2. Yeah, so if not equal to true, B5, C5, okay, so they're the same. And now that should work. Yeah. Yikes, Kelly, what have you been doing? Court report hand drawings. That sounds fun. I did that one time. I had one project where I was doing, it wasn't a court reporting, it was, you know those big, giant, like 3 foot by 4 foot boards, like vehicle accidents, so they have to like pretend, you know, they have to move things around on a board just to visualize what, so the attorneys can like visualize what happened at the intersection. I was hired to build one of those ones, or draw like a big map. That was kind of fun. All right, so let's see. We need, there we go. Yeah, that works. Now, drop ring 1 on B4. We don't have this trigger yet, so this is going to snap back to its starting position. Watch. Yeah. So we need a trigger ring 1 drop on B4. And that's the other reason we use the variables, because if I do this, basically I want to say basically snap a drag item to a drop target when I drop it here. That's kind of what I want to do. That's the action. But there's really no action to do that. There's no drop on, drag, or drop on action here. The drag and drop trigger are based on a when value, like a when. When does it happen? A drag over or a dropped on. And I needed something like that here in the action, but it's not an available trigger. So that's where we use the adjust a variable action. So I'm going to adjust B4 to true. When, now the when part is when I drop on. This is where I get that effect. When drag ring 1 is dropped on B4, right here. So that trigger is right here. Let's get that up. B4. So I've got B4, B5, C4, C5. I'm just trying to organize triggers here. Just give me a minute. My true triggers here. True, A4, B4, B5, C4, C5. Okay. I need to start building a table, like an Excel spreadsheet or something to kind of go back. But then when you start moving around in Storyline, you got to go back and update another document. That's kind of pointless. Okay, so we're going to put that one here, this one here, and this one there. True, true. Oh, look right here. We need to turn that to false. So C5, it's a win, but C5 needs to go. Oh, wait a minute. Something else is going on. See, when I just hit refresh, everything refreshed, but the variables don't refresh. See if it does it that way. Oh, if I do the scene, it does. Oh, but I don't want to do the scene because I've got 3 slides in there. Now I forget what we were doing. Why are we doing this refresh? I totally just forgot why we were doing that. Okay. We're going over here first, and then we're going here. That's true, that's true. So there's one other thing that I know, that's why. See A4 over here? A4 needs to go back to hidden. Because that's not this floaty space up here is not an available drop target anymore. So change the state of A4 when ring 2 is dropped on B5. Change the state of A4. Yeah, see, I don't have that one here. Change the state of, let's do that. And that's another thing, which would be really helpful. And I'm saying this out loud, but wherever I put whatever trigger I highlight, and I do a new trigger, a copy paste, I want it to kind of paste in right behind where I want it. But then I have to go to the bottom and move it back up. So drop A4. No, change the state of drop A4 to hidden when ring 2 is dropped on B5. That should also be for C5 too, don't you think? I think so. I'm going to add it, just be safe. And then change this one to C5. Okay, we're almost there. I can feel it. We can feel it. Okay. We need, I want to do one thing. I want to add like a win layer, like something that comes up that says, you win. And I want to add the number of moves, like the number of plays. That's kind of my goal. I want to get to that point. All right, so that's true. That's true. Available positions. 2. There we go. So that hides. So now the only available is I can put this back to A5. I can move 1 back to A5. I can move 1 to B4. I can't move 2 on top of 1, so that's okay. And we have 2 trues. Now if I put this on top of 2, then, right there. So we've got to, that's the other one. We've got to change position C5 back to false. Position C5 back to false. And we're going to add a more, it's to say, it doesn't matter where I put this on A5 or B. So I need 2 triggers. Uh-oh. Okay, we'll figure that out later. I know why that's happening, but I don't want to tackle that right now. We just need to turn position C5 to false. And C5 equal to false. If dropped on B4. Or yeah, right. So we're just going to keep adding these triggers as we move up the tower. C5 to false if dropped on B4. And that should be 2 potential ways to win this game. That should do it right here. I think we're there. And then we'll just add a little scoring. Okay, we'll go here, and then here, and then here. Win. 2 trues, everything else is false. All right, just to be sure, let's go back and do the other one. The other possible way of winning. This doesn't, I don't know the rule. I mean, the idea is you go from one end of the board all the way to the other, but that's not to say that you couldn't win in the middle of Tower B. So we put this one over here, and then this one over here, and then that's a win. All right. What did it take us? 5 days, 7 hours about to get that? All right, now I want a couple layers. Let me set this up real quick. We're just going to grab a shape and put this on here. And come down here. I just want to cover the board. Something like that. Yay, you win with minimum number of moves with 3 minimum number of moves. Something like that. We might fiddle with that later, but for right now, I think that's good. Let's beef that up like that. And maybe, let's give it the green color. Then what do we do? Play again. Why not? Play again. Let's just add a button. And my button is going to be this. Play again. Let me get the border a little thicker. You're right. I shouldn't be doing pretty stuff right now. I don't know. I know. Okay. Now, the trigger is what? Hide layer? No. Have I saved my work lately? Andrea, I'm going to hire you. That's all I got to say to that. Andrea's been real helpful all week. She's been just tossing these little comments in there. Hey, Kevin, don't forget about that. Thank you. I just saved. Okay, so we're going to add a trigger. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to hide the layer or show, what are we going to do? Hide the layer? I'm just going to call it a win. And no, we're not going to, we have to reset. So what does that mean? That means we are going to jump to slide itself. So we're going to jump to this slide when the user clicks the button. And our button is play again. And we're just going to call this, feedback. And we're just going to jump to the slide again. But we have to do something because we got all those variables. One of the cool things is we can go down here to the main properties and we can tell storyline, this is one game, one slide. Reset this entire slide to its initial state. That's going to put all of the object states back to their initial state where they were when we first launched. And we can do that with that one setting, which is really convenient. That's really handy. Variables, on the other hand, are not states. They're global. So we have to manually come in here and reset all of our variables. So I'm going to adjust a variable A1, position A1 equals, what was the original one? Value, not A1, A4. A4 back to true. Remember, A4 and A5 were starting at true. And, oh, not when timeline starts. When, well, we can do what timeline starts, I guess. Yeah, that'd be fine. And then A5. We can do it with the timeline starts on the layer and then start, or we can do it against the button. It doesn't matter. A4 and A5 is true, and then we need B4, B5, C4, and C5. So B4, and we're setting it back to false. A4, or no, B5, and it goes back to false. And then C5, C4, golly, C4 to false, and then C5. Okay. We're setting all our variables. Oh, you know what? We're going to use, we got to go back and add it, but our number of games and our number of moves. So games are like it's not really attempts, it's games. So we need to set these two back. Games back to, no, we're going to add 1 to games if you play again, and we're going to set moves back to 0. So we need a trigger, adjust number of games, add 1. I want to do that when the user clicks because I don't want to see it until. The reason I would do this when the user clicks, where'd it go? Because I'm going to put down here like on the footer or maybe up here at the top. So if I do it when the timeline starts, you're already going to see game 2 before I play again. So I want to do that when the actual button is clicked. I don't know why that number of games, add 1. When the user clicks. There we go. And then I also want to reset number of moves back to 0 when the user clicks. Yeah, when the user clicks the button, and get that right there. So that should work. Now I just need my number of moves reference on here. So number of moves. Now how do we add to the moves though? Moves. How do we add gameplay? That's the question. I'm thinking as I'm doing this. And this is number of games. There we go. I'm going to right justify that one. So now we need to add 1 to moves. How many times? Each time what? Each time each time it's dropped, right, on something. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Number of moves. I want to add 1 to the variable when. What are my options here? When what? When an object, when ring 1 is dropped on I guess one trigger at a time, I guess. Oh, here's Garrett. Hey, buddy. Say hi to my son, everybody. Garrett. He's stationed at Fort Lewis McChord Joint Base out in near Tacoma. Proud Papa. Let's see. I'm going to try this. I don't know if this is going to work because I don't want extra. Well, wait a minute. No, yeah. So drop on. What are the available moves? Let's say B4 or B5 or C4 or C5. Actually, A4 or A5 as well. And JBLM. What is? Oh, that's Joint Base something McChord. Thanks, Michael. We'll see you, buddy. Have a good weekend. And number of games starts at 1. All right, let's see. We got to get it. We're gonna get it. Oh wait, we forgot one thing. We got how do we show the layer, the win layer? We're gonna show the win layer when this is where we use those variables too. When a variable changes. Oh, wait a minute, that's not going to work. Yeah, we can, wait a minute, show layer when, how about this? When an object, I don't know if this is going to work. When object ring 1 is dropped on either B4, no, we're going to need a couple, because that's the highest position ring 1 can be in. You know, we're not going to be able to, I'm thinking about this, I thought about, you know, when we add the third ring, we're going to have to go back and adjust all of these triggers. Because right now, you see what I'm thinking, because B4 is the highest position ring 1 could ever be in this play with 2 rings. When we add 3 rings, then B3 would be the highest position. So we'd have to come back and edit each one of these triggers rather than just adding a ring and adjusting that ring's triggers. We're going to have to come back in and do a lot of messing around. I thought it was a show layer. Didn't I do a show layer trigger just now? See, that's what I get for talking and not paying attention. Where'd that? Here it is. Show layer when, but then the condition is that those two, this is where we're going to use those variables again. We're going to use if variable position B4 is equal to true and B5 is equal to true, because that would be ring 2 below it. So we've got to make sure that both of those values are true. And the only time these particular two variables are ever going to be true is if ring 1 is in B4 and ring 2 is in B5. Easy peasy, right? And that's just tower B. So now I need another one for tower C. So I just change these up. So this would be C4. I guess I can do this all at once, but I don't want to get I don't want conflict, you know, B4 or C4 and or that kind of thing. It gets it just gets too confusing. So I don't mind adding extra triggers. Storyline can handle it. We're gonna have hundreds in here by the time we're done anyway. That should do it. So let's see if we get a win and if we're scoring. Lewis McChord. Okay. Thanks for the clear. Well, you know, my day it was Fort Lewis. And MAFB. Yeah, Air Force Base. MAF. Okay, let's see. 1, and we're not getting our moves counted. 2 and 3, and we win. All the variables, oh yeah, these stay true. We play again and reset. It works. Except we're not getting our moves counted. Number of moves, add 1. This is not working. Hey, we're almost, got about 10 minutes, hour and a half. And I'm going to, we're going to get this move thing figured out. And we're going to, I think that's an excellent break. And then I'm going to publish it, I think. It'd be fun to publish. See if it works like on an iPad. Which I hope. Okay. We need to add 1 to our moves when... I'm wondering if we need one trigger at a time instead of all, trying to one. Oh, right here. That's the problem. Adjust moves when object. We're not trying to drop the slide anywhere. So when ring 1 is dropped on any one of those positions, and then we need that same trigger down here in ring 2. Yeah. But ring 2 is never going to be on a position 4. So I can take those out. I can take 4s out. I think we got it. I think it's there. Oh, we need what if we do more than 3 moves? That's the other thing. What if we do 5 moves? There's our move. See, now it's working. And 2 and 3 and show layer if ta-da. Ta-da. Now let's do the other side. Let's see if we win on tower 2. Ta-da. You know what? I don't like that. Where's that trigger? Where's that show layer trigger at? Where's that low guy at? Is it up here? Did we put it up at the top? No, where did we put it? Show layer. I'm going to do this differently. Show layer when variable changes our moves on the condition that moves is equal to 3. I think that's a cleaner trigger. It's a lot cleaner. There we go. Perfect. And then we're going to take this layer, we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to call, more than 3. Yeah. Moves greater than 3. We'll call it that, and then we'll change this color to, I don't know, something that, and maybe something, bummer, it took you number of moves, the minimum to win is 3 moves. Play again. And then I'm using the reference here, and I'm going to pull in the actual score. And all of our variables get reset. We're adding 1 to games, setting moves back to 0, and then jump back to itself. So let's play a game where we get more than 3, so we kind of move things around and see what happens. Let's say I go here, and then I go here, and then I go back over here. Oh, it shouldn't do that. Let's see. 1, 2. Oh, yeah, it's broke. So why is it showing? Oh, you know why? I don't have anything to tell it to go there. Move this one, and if it's greater than 3. But why did the 3? Okay, yeah. Yeah, because we're like, if it equals 3 moves. That's not going to work. That's not going to work. It's still going to show the win layer when we go to 3 moves. Now if I try to move this one back, yeah, it's still going to do that. So maybe that other trigger was better. When number of moves, we'll do the condition again. Number of moves is equal to 3 and position B4 is equal to true, and B5 is equal to true. And we're going to copy that. This is probably way too much. There's got to be a better way. It's just not coming to me right now. And then these would be C4 and C5. And then the other one, just if it's greater than 3. Maybe that should work. In theory, I mean, it should work. So, there we go. 1, 2, but now I want to go like this. There we go. 3, now 4. Yeah, it took you 4 moves. Yeah, we did it. That was it. That was our goal. Minimum viable functionality. We have a working prototype, so we know it works. There's some other concerns that we have to figure out, but generally speaking, everything is in cool shape. So watch this. So here's what we would do. We would take these, and this is it. This is kind of what we would take. All of those shapes, and it doesn't matter if they're normal hidden. We're just going to turn them all to transparent, and just for visual reference, I'll just take this and we'll make that white just to kind of hide it temporarily. Oh, we still got those. Kind of get the idea, right? And clean it up afterwards. Oh yeah. It's working. Okay. Wow. Holy cow. That's got me. There's all kinds of things I'm thinking about, and what are we gonna do, and fun stuff. Nice. Thanks, Lynn. It works, right? So that was the goal. We made a goal of getting this thing working by the end of the week, and we did. We're a long way to go. How do we get? We still have to evaluate being able to stack those rings in the next position up when there's nothing below it, so that floaty kind of concern. I got to figure out somehow to address that initial position of snapping back. Even when that shape was hidden, it's still the ring one. Remember, it's just kind of snapped back. It looked like it was floating on tower A. But I need tower A when we go forward, because we're going to be moving, these rings back and forth and back and forth. So I'll tell you what, let's do this. So right now it's easy. It's easy right here with these two. But when I got 3 rings, because the minimum move now is 7, so when I start doing something like this, I need I need tower A, because I need to come back over here with 1, and 1's got to go all the way back down, so that I can get 2 out and put over on 3, and then bring 1 over. So I'm going to need tower A, even though those shapes are part of the initial position. I don't know how to address this. One idea is to, once the gameplay starts, fake storyline out and leave the starting slide and go somewhere else, and then reset up the whole thing. And that way there's no longer a starting set of shapes. So what I mean by that, and this was kind of a thought that I had, is very first move, either tower B or tower C, the very first move of ring 1, because it doesn't matter if I have all 5 rings on here. I got it. It doesn't matter if I got all 5 rings on here. Ring 1 is still the first move, and it's going to go either B or C. So the idea is if I put ring 1 on B5 or C5, jump to another slide, know which position it was, and then recreate the slide based on where this is at. And then build everything on that slide. So maybe I need a starting slide, because what's happening is these starting drop targets is where everything snaps back. And if I do that with some generic drop targets on the next slide, then there's no concern of it snapping back. I don't know. That's just where I'm at right now with my theory, or my idea that might be. That might be it. Who knows? Okay. Right at an hour and a half, so it's timing up real good. We've been doing this for 5 days, and my website, I'm going to put it in the chat real quick. I have got a running chronological recording record of everything, and I'll get all this up later on this afternoon. It's taken usually well into the night. And that's just because of rendering the HD video, and because I didn't record today. I've got to, I just got to download the video from Facebook, and then I'll render it. I'll put it in, I'll see if I can put it in Adobe Premiere and kind of boost it up a little bit for HD quality, and then I'll get it up there. Anyway, it takes a while to do that, render it. Because these videos are so big, hour and a half, they're a couple gigabytes, so it usually takes a few hours to render. So I just put it over there on the other system and just kick it off and let it run until it's done. All right, so thanks everybody for hanging out this week. Come back Monday if you're interested. We're going to dive back in. We got a working model, so what do we do Monday? Add the third ring. Maybe do some more troubleshooting here, make sure everything is working, and then we'll go from there. But excellent. Thanks for joining. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see everybody next Monday. Bye-bye.